Good morning, good evening, welcome back to my channel. I am sitting down to film one of my favorite videos every year. I love filming this video. This is going to be my cozy, semi-autumnal, semi-spooky book recommendations video. So buckle up, or actually don't really buckle. I don't really want you to be in a car right now. Just like sit down somewhere. Sit down with a good old mug of something, and I'm about to give you some book recommendations that I hope you're really going to enjoy for this season, this time. Even if it's not fall for you, these are just all around stellar books, so please enjoy and relax. What do I want to tell you first? Okay, the first book I want to tell you about is a middle grade, extremely cozy, very fun. The charm levels are out of this world, and I found this a couple of years ago now, just on the shelf at Chapters by accident, and I picked it up because it was called Aggie Morton, Mystery Queen. So as you can see on the very top, it says inspired by the real-life queen of crime, Agatha Christie. So what Martha Jocelyn has done is she's created Agatha Christie as a character in Aggie Morton, and she kind of writes these mysteries semi and somewhat based on Agatha Christie's real life for middle grade readers, but really this is a book for everyone. It is so fun. We follow young Aggie, who doesn't really fit in. It's set in the Victorian period. She lives in the English seaside town of Torquay in 1902. Unfortunately, Aggie's father has just passed away, and she has developed what her mother calls a morbid preoccupation with death, with corpses, with bodies, with decay, with mystery. She also meets this young lad around the same time who becomes like her best friend because he's also a little bit odd like her. It is this charming Belgian boy named Hector Perrault. You can guess who he's kind of supposed to be, but the first book is called The Body Under the Piano. I would highly recommend this for your fall. Little bit spooky, but because it's middle grade, it's just like a good, sweet, cozy mystery. This definitely falls under the category of a cozy mystery. It was fun, and it's not too easy. Like, solving the mystery isn't too easy. They find a body under the piano in Aggie's like dance studio, and it becomes this whole thing in the town. There's a whole series. I cannot wait to read more from the series. I need to get my hands on like the rest of them because it was just so sweet, so well written, really well paced, and I was just so taken. I was so taken with this book, and it comes with little illustrations of like all of the characters, and I really liked it. The friendship between Hector and Aggie was also really sweet, and I just highly recommend this little gem of a book that I am so glad that I found. So that is the first one. I don't know, what more could you want? It's an Agatha Christie retelling of her life with like a lot of details about Agatha Christie's own life, which was fascinating and which I really don't know too much about, but I really thoroughly enjoyed this, and I don't really see anyone talking about it. So if you're looking for something like this on a rainy, spooky day, please give The Body Under the Piano a try. If you are looking for a classic to rock your world, Northanger Abbey might be that one for you, especially because it is a parody on the Gothic. I'm currently in the middle of a reread of Miss Northanger Abbey. I did not like it the first time I read it. Now that I'm reading it, I'm kind of loving it. I'm really kind of loving it. This is one of Jane Austen's novels that was published posthumously, so after she unfortunately passed away, and it follows young Catherine Morland, who is she's a little bit annoying, I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of this book is frustration after frustration. I remember feeling frustrated the first time I read it, but upon my reread, like, my anger and irritation at so many people and at Catherine herself, but mainly not too much Catherine, is just out the wazoo. I was not expecting such anger at this book, but it's just following the civilities and everyday life of Catherine in Bath. She is making her entrance into the world of balls and society. She quickly makes best friends with this young girl named Isabella and Isabella's brother John. There's all of this drama and gossip, and she said this, he said that type of deal going on. But what really starts to take center stage for Jane Austen in Northanger Abbey is the fact that Catherine, along with Isabella, have begun to read a bunch of Gothic novels, and this Gothic vision of the world really has started to color the effects and the happenings of their lives and their perceptions of things, for sure. Catherine reads The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, which could also easily be on this list, and she starts to see Udolpho everywhere, which is a story about another young heroine who throughout Italy goes to like a castle. There's devious happenings going on there. She's with this evil man. It's just very, 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 very Gothic. And Catherine starts to see this everywhere. She becomes obsessed with the Gothic novel. It is funny, but it also comments a lot on some very serious topics within all of this. So if you're looking for cozy comfort, because I cannot tell you 70 pages into my reread how cozy it really is. Cozy. Jane Austen, I think for me, I am like at a good age and good reading. Like I've read enough to be like, oh my gosh, this is a book that I just want to sit with on the couch with like a cup of tea. I don't want to be disturbed, and I really just want to take pleasure in walking through the streets of Bath and like preparing to go to a ball and sitting down for dinner. Like it's just that kind of thing that I don't find. You just don't find this type of writing anymore nowadays. You really, really don't. Or if you do, it's obviously quite different, because Jane Austen just has such a way of letting you know she is there with you, commenting on certain things in society, letting you in on everything that is happening in like early 1800s, and it's just really, really, I don't know, it's just a very sleepy book, but like in a very nice way. I mean that in a very nice way. So that is Northanger Abbey. This is definitely, I mean, any Jane Austen honestly could be on this list, but because it has that little crumb of the Gothic castles and mysteries, it is perfect for fall. So that is Northanger Abbey. Next, I want to introduce you, if you don't already know this, to a 5-star read. Oh god, I love this so much, and it pains me that I cannot find more in this series because I desperately want to read the rest of them so bad. So I picked up Arya this year. I had heard of this before. I think you guys had recommended this to me. I just found this at a used bookstore in Nova Scotia earlier this year, and I picked it up a couple months ago. 5 stars. I don't usually give manga 5 stars. I've hardly ever given, I think just this and like Sailor Moon have been 5-star reads in the manga realm for me, but Arya, this like took my whole heart. This was everything I wanted. The stakes are very low. It is like fantasy sci-fi where we're in this whole other world. The whole other world is Mars, except Mars is now called Aqua because when humanity went to terraform Mars for our own habitation, we accidentally melted way too much of Mars's ice and everything flooded. So what they've done, as you can like kind of see, is made Aqua or Mars into Venice. It has become New Venice, and everyone gets around in gondolas, on boats, and so we follow our wonderful protagonist, who is just very optimistic. She's a dose of sunshine. She's just one of those like wonderful characters that you find a lot in manga, who just have such a sunny outlook on life, who aren't really dampened by anything or anyone, and who just like have this dream that they're gonna go after no matter what, and just be like a really fun, loving person. I don't know. Her dream is to be a gondolier, so she is a gondolier in training. This is such a cozy, wonderful book. It is set obviously around the landscape of Venice. There's a lot of opportunities to learn about Venice in here because it talks a lot about the architecture, about the purpose of different buildings. It follows her training to become a gondolier. It is so wholesome. So wholesome. And also, I don't know if you can see all of the leaves, but it is set in fall. It is set in fall in Venice, in this new Venice. And it's so, I just smiled. I smiled so much. My cheeks were like burning the whole time I was reading this. You follow her along with a couple other companions, training to be a gondolier through the cities of Venice, dropping people off different places, helping people out. There's a competition. She explores like different islands around New Venice. It was just really, 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 really wholesome, and I loved the artwork. It is set in the middle of autumn, so highly recommend Arya. I was like blown away. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if it's currently being printed or not because I haven't been able to find the next few volumes, but love this so much, and I'm so glad I got to read this year because I am actually going to Venice in a couple months, which is just kind of blowing my mind, and I'm like just so in love with this manga. One of my favorite novels is Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein, obsessed with Frankenstein. But I didn't want to put Frankenstein on. I wanted to put on this list a book called Mary's Monster by Lita Judge. I read this last year during spooky season. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. This is an illustrated book detailing Mary Shelley's life and how she created Frankenstein, the novel. So you go from Mary Shelley's childhood all the way until I think almost her death, and like this was really well done. I'm not gonna lie, I had pretty low expectations for this. I think it's technically classed as like young adult. You can see it is mostly illustrated, but then it will have little chapters in kind of like free verse poetry describing and detailing Mary's life. It is a beautiful book. I'm not the biggest fan of the art style, but I think it really complements her life and the story that is being told here. Lita Judge, I don't think she really takes too many liberties. What she does do is provide the really well-researched, factual parts of Mary Shelley's life, like her relationship with Percy Shelley, her tumultuous relationship with her family, her travels, her tragedies. She goes through like so much. And then also what the author does is provide a little bit of interpretation of how these events that have created and like fostered the person Mary was, how these events influenced the creation of Frankenstein. I was not expecting to learn as much as I did from this book. It was beautiful. I really love Lita Judge's interpretations of different things, her analysis of Mary's life. I loved how it just explored so much. There was a lot about childbirth and motherhood in here connected with Frankenstein. I loved those links. It was just really well done, like really well done. I was really impressed with this, so I would highly recommend you give Mary's Monster a go, especially if like you just want to learn more about like Mary Shelley's life. This is a very accessible. Just a couple essays at the back too, because obviously the popular myth is that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was conceived spontaneously on a stormy night in answer to a dare to write a ghost story. That evening did occur, but countless events in Mary's life before and after that evening played a much greater role in the horror novel's creation. It's just so good, guys, so good. And this was a gift from one of you, so thank you so much for sending this my way. I love this, and I would highly recommend basically all of you now to read this one. For a YA novel, if you like Spirited Away is like one of my ultimate comfort cozy movies. It's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite films of all time, but I want to recommend 1,000 Steps Into Night by Tracy Chee. This one is actually on my TBR for this month, but I did previously start this on audiobook. I got a little bit of the way through and I was liking it so much that I just wanted to own it, have it for myself. Look at this gorgeous book. It was longlisted for the National Book Award. It is young adult. I don't know if I've said that yet, but it follows this girl in a small village who eventually is exiled from her village because she is kissed by a demon prince, and I think that means that she becomes a demon. There's a lot in here about Japanese mythology and yokai, or the spirits. It comes with a lot of footnotes, which I just love footnotes. I love footnotes in books. I love footnotes in fantasy books. And it just sounded so good. So she is an innkeeper's daughter, but she is cursed and begins to transform into a demon with a deadly touch. So she embarks on a quest to reverse the curse and return to her normal life. She has this companion along the way, which is a thieving magpie. I love magpies, man. Magpies are some of my favorite birds. They're just so freaking funny. And the writing was so great. It was so cozy, and it is compared to Spirited Away. Said to be inspired a little bit by Spirited Away, and I was definitely feeling that. I feel like every spooky season or autumnal season I want to recommend, I've already recommended the little Agatha Christie inspired book, but I also wanted to recommend one from the dame herself. So this is a gorgeous collection. I've almost finished working my way through this, but the one in here I want to recommend, I don't think I have yet, is Crooked House. I have a whole video trying to solve this one, and because spooky season is fast approaching, I will be trying to solve more of Agatha's mysteries because I miss making those videos where I try to solve an Agatha Christie mystery. So Crooked House is really fun. It follows this very crooked family. They all basically live in this one huge mansion, and the patriarch of the family drops dead. He is quite old, but I believe he's suspected of being poisoned, so our detective comes onto the scene. First, it's Monsieur Hercule, and it's just It was so good, man. It was so, so good. You have creepy children. You have actresses who are just so out there. You have very quiet, mysterious older men. And it was just really, it kind of, I don't know why it reminded me of the Addams Family, because it's not really like that, but I don't know. It reminded me too a lot of, oh man, not Glass Onion. I didn't really like Glass Onion. Knives Out. It reminded me a lot of Knives Out. I think that's what I just kept saying when I was trying to solve the mystery, is that Crooked House reminded me a lot of Knives Out, which I just want to rewatch Knives Out, because that's also like perfect. That like encapsulates kind of everything I'm trying to put on the list. Yeah, but Glass Onion was honestly a disappointment. But Knives Out, fantastic. So that is this collection. It's also beautiful, and this was a gift as well, so thank you so much. I wanted to put on a kind of a collection book. This one is middle grade, but it is a collection of dangerous tales, so like dangerous fairy tales. It's called Beasts and Beauty, and it is beautiful. And this one is by Soman Chinani. He also wrote The School for Good and Evil, which I feel like I've heard a lot about. This one is illustrated. Look at how beautiful. So this is split into a number of different fairy tales that are like very gruesome. We have like well-known favorites: Red Riding Hood, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, Beauty and the Beast. I think he retells them in a very different way. So I have not read this one yet, but it's also on my TBR, and I've just heard so many good things about it, and I am a little bit obsessed with the illustrations. This is who illustrated this? Illustrated by Julia Iredale. That is Beasts and Beauty. Okie dokie. The last book on this list, you can forgive me, but I haven't really talked about this one for a while, so I wanted to bring it up again. But it's one of my favorite books of all time, and that is, of course, The Phantom of the Opera. For a long time, it was my favorite book ever, so it's kind of saying a lot, but I have reread The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux many a time. I adored this book. There is so much to look at. It is a ghost story, but is it a ghost story? It just has so many different, it's like a little onion, and I just love books that are like little onions. This one really fascinates me because it is all pretty much set in the Paris Opera House. If you don't know the story, we follow this young singer named Christine, and she hears voices. You can just read it so many different ways, because Gaston Leroux, like, he is a mystery writer. He was also a journalist. A lot of what is being discussed kind of behind the scenes in the novel is truth and interpretation. There are so many ways you can look at it, because no one's stories match up. The author of the book, you can interpret it as Gaston Leroux, you can interpret it as someone completely different, just an author trying to piece together the stories, but he is very much the narrator, and he's trying to collect all of this evidence about what has happened in the Opera House. The primary thing that happened years ago, because the narrator is now looking back, is that there was a murder of this man, a very prominent viscount. He was murdered under he's found dead basically under mysterious circumstances. So now our narrator is going back to kind of piece together what the hell happened there, but no one's stories match up. There is such, I don't know, everything is circumspect, everything is suspicious. He's only able to interview certain people now after the fact, because people have disappeared, people have died, and it's really this like, oh, it's so well done, man. I think it's truly a masterpiece. It's so much more than it seems to be. There's so much about architecture. It is a Gothic novel. It's a mystery. It's a romance, a love story. There's a lot about music and art in here as well. Who is allowed to be an artist. There's a lot about the way that sound, music, song, the voice interacts with space, interacts with architecture, which is something that really interests me. There's so much, so many fascinating characters. It's hilarious. Like, it is actually hilarious. There's so many scenes with like the managers of the Opera House, which is just so funny, man. The safety pin chapter, I don't know, the safety pin chapter to me is like one of the funniest. Just truly love this book, and I really want to read it again. It is creepy. It does comment so much on the way that we treat people who don't look like the average person, who have disabilities, who are different than other people, because obviously the Phantom of the Opera is a character in the novel. His name is just Eric. Please give it a shot. I honestly think anyone who picks this up can just enjoy this so much. It's so dramatic. It's so, God, it's just really truly everything to me. it really is truly everything, and it has a little bit of everything in it, and I just love books like that can't be pinned down in any way, that offer so many different interpretations, offer so many different things to talk about, to look at, so many different kinds of characters. The Opera House is such an empire with so many different levels. The Opera House is one of them. The Paris Opera House, the Palais Garnier, is one of the most interesting buildings, man, and I've always wanted to go there because of this novel. There's a whole lake under the Opera House. It's just such a fascinating structure. Okay, I'm just gonna stop now. I'm gonna stop myself. I've gone on for, I don't know. One of my final recommendations is Phantom of the Opera. There ye have it. There are some very cozy, really wholesome books. Some of them have a little bit of spooky edge to them. I will be making a whole like Halloween video recommendations list as well, because this is my favorite time of the year to read and to recommend books, to find new books, to read spooky books. So there will be a lot coming like that. But I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please leave me, like, what is your essential cozy autumnal book? And that is when I will see you. So, ciao.